Good afternoon, good morning to everybody once again to our 9th Videocast. It's been a really busy month for us. I thought I was going to take it easy. We had like 2 holidays here in China. We had like the Mid-Autumn Festival that just passed last week, and now we're going into the Guoqingjie, the National Day Festival that's sometimes called the Golden Weeks. But we haven't let that stop us, have we, Anna?
Oh, no, no, not at all. Actually, maybe when there are holidays, then we get busier in between holidays. So we haven't get bored. No, it has been a very nice beginning of the academic year. And yes, so yeah, what did we do? Last week we had a very interesting webinar. It's really, I would say, one of the most popular webinars that we have every year, isn't it? What do you think?
Yeah, it is. I mean, like hundreds and hundreds of people attended. And remember when we did like our first webinar on this topic a couple of years back, I thought it was amazing that we got like so many people, and I thought it was a fluke. But then repeatedly, it always turns out that a lot of people are interested, and that's maybe not so surprising, because what we're talking about is the postdoctoral fellowships from the Marie Curie, or sometimes called the Marie Curie Fellowships, and so on. And the reason for that is because they are immensely popular and useful fellowships available to early career researchers. These are often researchers that are very interested in finding good opportunities for funding. Here in China, they are really interested in this opportunity to be able to go all the way to Europe and sort of advance their career over a 2-year fellowship. So no wonder that people that just finished their PhD or about to finish their PhD always are interested in this. And it's not an easy fellowship to get either. I think the success rate is around 10%, let's say, on average, or a little bit less even. But it's definitely worth trying for, and a lot of researchers, Chinese researchers, have been quite successful with it. Every year we get like, I don't know how many, but in the last 7 years we have more than 400 Chinese researchers in total that got this fellowship. So it's definitely a really popular track for Chinese researchers that want to go to Europe to work with. Work in European institutions and so on. So we did the webinar last week, Anna, and we had like a couple of experts with us from Europe, right?
Yes, we did. I mean, I like to think that more and more Chinese are being successful, and more Chinese are applying. Also, with a little bit of help of EURAXESS, because yeah, it's the second webinar we organized on these fellowships this year. But this last one that we had last year was really intense, was really informative. I learned a lot myself, Halldor.
Yep.
We had these 2 amazing NCPs from Denmark, Anne Melbourne and Marit Eriksson, that really had a detailed presentation, all the single aspects, and a lot of tips for those who, were closing and are closing their applications, because the deadline is really coming up. And yes, they really did a great job, and also it was very interactive. I think we're gonna see it in a moment. A lot of questions. We had more than 200 participants and an average of 200 questions. 200 questions in total. So I guess that every person on average had the opportunity to ask a question, which is awesome.
Yeah, let's take a look at the video that we created before the event. Let me see. Did you just finish your PhD?
Are you looking for an opportunity to boost your research career?
The Marie Curie Postdoctoral Fellowships are some of the most renowned fellowships granted to early career researchers, and also one of the highest awards for individual scientific research funded by the European Commission.
These fellowships offer the opportunity of moving abroad to join a prestigious research institution or company. You can be funded to move to Europe or anywhere else in the world, and even to restart your research career after having had a break.
The postdoctoral fellowship allow researchers from China to do a 1 or 2 year research project anywhere in Europe, where the focus is not only on excellent science, but you and your future career ambitions.
Did you know that since 2014, 414 Chinese researchers have gone to a new country in Europe to do their research funded by the Marie Curie EURAXESS Fellowships.
The deadline for this year's fellowship is coming up. Why wait for much longer? Boost your research career now.
Have you already started your application? Do you have any doubts, or do you need advice on how to complete it? Or are you just curious about it?
Learn more by joining our upcoming webinar and get training from experts from Europe. Everybody will have a chance to ask questions.
Join our webinar by registering today on china.euraxess.org.
Yeah, so yeah. So like that's how we spend our time, and like creating little videos like that to make sure that we get all the people that we want to get. But I mean, like in the end, the event took place on the Tuesday last week. I forgot when it was, 22nd or 23rd of September, and it turned out to be a very dynamic, fun event with a lot of interaction between people and so on, right?
Yes, it was. Thanks to our speakers, really. I think they weren't expecting so many participants and so many questions, and they really did a great job in replying to them in the chat box and like directly through the video during the Q&A sessions. It was really non-stop, intense, very interesting. So let's have a look at it.
And if you do so, you will see a question. The question is, what is your main interest today? And we'd like to hear your answers to this question. So what are you most interested in hearing about today in this webinar? So I'm hoping you will find the website slido.com, enter the code, and then just add a few words about what is your main interest for the webinar today. And I can see already 12 people have found their way, now 14, and some answers are coming in. So that's great. Thank you for playing along.
Mm-hmm. So it's very nice to see that there are already some answers, that you've got some points about preparing the application for next year, to know the requirements, also something about the differences from IF. We won't be sort of saying specifically here are the differences, but you'll notice, I think when Anne is presenting the rules for participation, that what the differences are. Winning the scholarship, of course, that's important to everybody who participates, and we will give you some tips on how to write a very, very nice proposal.
Key points for a successful application. Again,
somebody mentioned the success rates, and yes, we're getting very many replies. It's very nice.
Yes.
And it also gives us an impression that we do have, I think, most of these points in our presentation. So that's very nice. Somebody asks, is there any PhD program? You have to look at the doctoral networks, which is applied for by an organization. So if you're doing a PhD, you should look at EURAXESS, because the doctoral networks or the ITNs from H2020 will be presented there. Okay. Very nice. Do you see something else, Anna, that we...
I think there are some that are
preparation
popping up again and again. Yeah, the evaluation criteria, we'll cover those sort of towards the end. Know the requirements, so we'll definitely go into those in detail.
And tips on how to be successful.
And how to submit the proposal. Of course, you'll also cover that.
Yes. Good. Yeah, I think that was nice. Thank you very much for
playing
very
along.
much.
And you can keep Slido open on your phone or in your browser, because we'll return to that a little bit later. And hopefully you'll want to play along again. So thank you for that.
So literally hundreds and hundreds of people were asking questions, and you could see like even Slido, the system was not like handling it. It had to like kind of pop in new input all the time, and that was really typical of the event. We had like hundreds of questions and really active participants. Also, we checked with them afterward. We had like this little survey, and we found out like a huge portion of them are actually right or now in the middle of applying for Marie Curie Fellowship. So of course they had all these very detailed questions that they want to get sorted, having this opportunity to talk to the experts. And we really are grateful to Anne and Madeliz for their amazing presentation. I mean, like we during the clip, Anna and I were just talking about how great they were actually. So we want to make sure that that is known. that they were really good. But that was only the beginning. Afterward, we had like this 2 hours of really detailed instructions and training on how to apply and prepare your application. And this is, of course, really, really useful when you start to think about applying for these kind of things. And this is going to stay around there. So if you're going to be applying in the future, you can take a look at our recording, which is already available, and you can find it on our video sites, or just go to our website at china.euraxess.org to kind of find it, and you can really dig deep and find out answers to most of your questions. But that was not the only webinar that we've been doing lately, is it, Anna?
Oh, no, not at all. Actually, just yesterday we had another very interesting webinar about the different opportunity, but just as great or even greater. I don't know which one I prefer. Yes, so we focused on the European Research Council and its grants. They are open to different kind of researchers, you know, more experienced, I would say, compared to postdoctoral fellowship, but still different kind of grants are out there. So there's really a lot of different opportunity for, you know, researchers with different experience. So, you know, I'm always very excited to talk about the ERC grants because they are really considered prestigious. Yet, I think in China, they are not always as well known. So that's what we have been trying to do in the last few years, spread the knowledge and really invite the Chinese researchers, but also not Chinese researchers. We had also a lot of Asian and some Europeans in our webinar yesterday, because they are open to researchers from any nationality. So let's watch this video that we also prepared to introduce and to promote a little bit the webinar yesterday.
Are you ready to move to Europe and make history? More than 10,000 scientists have already been funded by the European Research Council to pursue their best ideas at the frontiers of knowledge.
You have an excellent research profile and a great idea. You want to pursue an independent research career in Europe? Then you should apply for ERC grants. ERC supports the very best researchers from anywhere of any nationality.
The European Research Council encourages the highest quality frontier research in Europe across all fields of science. The criterion used by the ERC to select researchers is exclusively that of scientific excellence. All researchers with cutting-edge ideas and ready to break new ground in Europe are welcome to apply. Are you ready to advance your career with an ERC grant and move to Europe? To learn more about the grants available to you, join our upcoming webinar. We will have 2 ERC scientific officers that will introduce the different funding opportunities and provide information on the application and evaluation process. And we will also hear the experience of a Chinese ERC grantee, who will share his experience applying for these grants and advise applicants based outside of Europe. So what are you waiting for? Register now on china.euraxess.org. With the generous ERC funding, you could contribute to transform science and research.
And we're back, and I actually enjoyed a lot more watching this video now than I did before, because I have to admit I did not know the backstory well enough. So this one, this video promoting the ERC webinar was prepared by Anna, and like we do a lot of the times, we kind of mix up some footage that we have, maybe some stock footage and ourselves and music and so on, and it's kind of fun, like little thing that we do. It takes time, but we think it really ends up in a more of an engaging way for people to kind of understand what we're up to. That being said, what I did not realize is that in this video we were not looking at stock footage, were we? This was like all these amazing drone shots above this town in Italy, the city in Italy. If you would look really closely at it in the corner, you would actually find a very familiar face, right?
Yeah, that is right. The final execution maybe wasn't the best, but you know, Halldor, I thought I'm in Europe, so I should take advantage of the fact that I'm stuck here. And you know, we're proposing the European Research Council, and we're inviting Chinese researchers to move to Europe. Well, finally, I am stuck in not a bad place, you know. So the drone shooting are of Città Alta, that is the older part of Bergamo, is the ancient part of the city up the hills, and also hosts a local university. So yeah, you see me between the stock footage, like walking through the old street of Città Alta and finally entering the university at the end of the video. That was a little bit, you know, the red line through the video.
It was like a little bit like finding Waldo. Try to find Anna in the video clips. I hadn't realized this before, but I totally thought it was stock footage. So it was really professional and nice. So first the city as a whole, and then kind of and then ending at the university, always following you there. I was a great and was a really innovative way to go about this, which is totally in theme with the topic of the webinar that we were promoting, which is the European Research Council. And like you mentioned earlier, the ERC grants are a little bit more, how to say, ambitious, because they're supposed to be more groundbreaking, more innovative, sort of like pushing the boundaries of science more. They're also a lot higher grants. You know, you get like millions of euros to start up your own research teams to do something. And it's also more competitive in the sense that you do need like a proven track record that you're sort of an independent scientist and that you can deliver the things that you're saying that you want to do. So it is very important that you know what you're doing and like how to apply for these things and how to present yourself. So we were very lucky to have really excellent speakers with us in the webinar, right, Anna?
Oh yes, yes. So this webinar was really great. Thanks to the speakers we had. So like first of all, we had Vaida Baumskite, who is from the ERC, is a scientific officer from the ERC, and she really gave a nice overview of the grants and also replied to a lot of questions, trying to give recommendations, and I think that like she gave useful recommendations to some of the applicants that were with us yesterday, and you know, she also added some China-specific characteristics because she provided some data we had no idea about ourselves, about Chinese applicants, their success rate, and I think we are going to try to catch those researchers from China who were successful and applied successfully from our ERC grant based from China, because those are the sort of story we're really interested in, right?
Yeah, exactly. I thought we would highlight this a little bit because the information about the ERC and so on is very important for people that are applying. But this is more like specific to our audience here. You know, like how does this look like for people on the ground here? So let's take a quick look at the at a clip from yesterday's webinar where Vaida is discussing this.
In terms of ERC evaluate proposals from grantees, from applications, from applicants with nationality, Chinese nationality. Here are some statistics. So from 2007 to 2020 calls, very recent, you can see how many applications were evaluated at the European Research Council, and these applications came from China nationals. You can see that the biggest part of the applications was submitted to starting grant call, which is 542 applications out of more than 700. And out of these, the biggest part went to physical sciences and engineering. Now, when it comes to which grants were awarded by the ERC to China nationals by call and scheme, you can see that in total, there are 53 grants which were awarded to China nationals. And again, the highest number come to starting grant, followed by consolidators, 13 grants, and 1 advanced grant. And similar numbers that the highest number of awards were given to physical sciences and engineering domain, in total 27. A number of Chinese principal investigators based in China at the time of application were 24 out of 721. And 3 of them were successful. So that means that the biggest majority of Chinese principal investigators, when they applied, they were not based in China. So when it comes to the host institutions and countries where Chinese grantees are chosen, you can see that the highest number in Germany, followed by the UK, and then Netherlands and Sweden. So these are the countries where Chinese principal investigators are working now.
Yep, and we're back again, and like you see in the video, this is a very competitive grant, of course, to get. And so far we have this example of 24 researchers based in China 24 Chinese researchers that have gotten it, according to WIDA, and only 3 of them were based in China at the time. But we discussed it a little bit. In the webinar, like what is the reason this is how it is, and I think our conclusion was it's also just a question of like how known or well known these kind of grants are here. They're not very well known in China at all. In Europe, they're extremely well known, so of course they're going to be more successful at it because they know it better, they can prepare better, they have better information and so on. But that's one of the things that we are trying to help you guys out with by doing these kind of webinars. We want to make them more known. We want to give you the inside scoop of how these things goes and so on. So we do that by connecting you with the ERC officers themselves, like we're doing in this webinar, but also testimonies from Chinese successful applicants that can tell you like the reality of how it is to apply to things like this. But applying for ERC grant in itself is not the only thing that how you can sort of benefit from the ERC. Another way is to work with an ERC team. And you could be a Chinese researcher going to Europe using a special mechanism that the Natural Science Foundation of China and the European Research Council has set up. And we had with us an expert that discussed that a little bit, right, Anna?
Yes, yesterday during our webinar, we also had Davide Innocenti, who is also scientific officer of the ERC, and his presentation actually focused especially on implementing agreements and the one that ERC has with China, with the National Science Foundation of China. So, you know, it really opened up for Chinese researchers to also use that door to get into these research groups. And actually, I remember we had the statistics about Chinese researchers joining ERC research teams, and that percentage is pretty high. So maybe, you know, that's also that also means that Chinese researchers are getting closer and closer. Just of course, we will keep spreading the voice and trying to organize more and more informative webinars. Because then when you get good context, you can see good, successful templates, and then I guess the success rate is going to increase. But let's see a little bit of what Davide shared yesterday.
Since 2012, almost 500 scientists visits already ERC PI's teams. Temporary joining this team on a single long-term visits that can be, or a multiple short-term visit that can last from between 2 and 12 months maximum. The number of visits grow from 2012 to a maximum of 100 in 2018. Despite all the difficulties due to pandemics in the last 2 years, provisory results are encouraging, considering as well that some of the funding bodies have to suspend or postpone their campaign, their call for expression of interest, because of mobility constraints, of course. As you can see, particularly important is the growth of China that in 2019 already surpassed 20 visits, summing up to a total of 60 since the start of the program. And we are aware that for the last CFC internal call, they receive a growing number of applications. More in detail, let's give a look to the details that of these visits to better understand what is the nature of the scientific collaboration. To do that, I can present you here the number of visits per destination country of visiting NSFC researcher and by scientific domain. So far, NSFC researcher visited the ERC project in 17 European countries. Of course, it is expected the collaboration will occur in similar areas of scientific interest or on topic of mutual interests. And from this point of view, you can notice that all scientific domains are already represented. Indeed, 71% of the Chinese researchers visited a project of physical sciences and engineering domain, 20% a project in life science domain, and 7% a project in social sciences and humanities domain. Furthermore, one Chinese researcher already visited a synergy project.
And that was David Innocenti, who was talking about all the Chinese NSFC grantees here in China that have taken advantage of the implementing agreement between the European Research Council and the Natural Science Foundation of China to go for short or a little bit longer term visits or series of short term visits to China. And I have to say that was really, I was very pleasantly surprised when I saw that, because I honestly thought wrongly. I thought we had like maybe 20 of them or something, but it turns out we had 60 Chinese researchers that had taken advantage of this since they started in 2016. That is quite a bit. I mean, like, besides South Korea and the USA, it's like the highest number in the world. And it's not in some specific field. Basically, any kind of research field, all have examples of Chinese researchers coming, using this funding source to come to European Research Council grantees in Europe to do some sort of short-term visit. That is definitely a way, because we know a lot of our Chinese researchers, the members here, do have an NSFC grant. It's the most common grant here in China to do this sort of thing. So we thought it would be very interesting, because there are more than one way to sort of benefit from all the dynamic research activities that are happening around the European Research Councils besides getting the grant itself. I mean, like, I even remember when Professor Bourguignon, who used to be the president of the European Research Council, came to China in 2017, and we held an event with him, and he was talking about, I don't know exactly the detailed statistics, but I feel like I remember it was like thousands, the numbers of Chinese researchers that are working inside of Chinese inside of the ERC team. It was like the one of the biggest sort of non-European nationality in these teams. So they're working inside of this team, and you can go into the EURAXESS website, the job portal, and you can see all these jobs, because one ERC grantee will normally have a team, and it will have like sometimes dozens of people working for him. So there are many different ways to get involved with the European Research Council, but of course we have nothing but the biggest ambitions for our members. So what we really care about is that you just go ahead and get the grant itself. And there were some disappointed participants yesterday. They were like, oh, but this is hopeless. How can you even get it, like, with this kind of success rate? And we had a testimony from a successful applicant that just basically said, forget about it, you are you know, like a lot of people told him you will not be successful, but in the end he got it. The success rate on average does not necessarily mean that you will not be able to get it. I thought he was very inspiring, didn't you, Anna?
Yeah, I also thought so. He was really, well, he gave a lot of really useful advices. Yeah, and the message was, if you believe you're ready, go for it. Don't let any number, any percentage, or anyone stop you, because this is really an opportunity of a lifetime, one could say. It really can change completely your research career. So it was great. We had the Professor Zhang Zhao, who is now at Uppsala University, and he shared a bit his experience actually all around Europe, because through different programs he really explored from north to south and Central Europe. So he was really nice to also hear how much he experienced, and you know, a little bit of the different research cultures he had the opportunity to meet, and of course he gave also some specific recommendations on how to make a successful application and how to apply as a Chinese applicant. So we want to show you now this part where he speaks in Chinese directly to our audience, giving some tips on you know, how he did it.
So 大家需要注意的是，那个 ERC 呢，实际上呢，它不仅仅是一个基金，它实际上是一个人才计划，它实际上是欧洲最重要的一个人才计划。因此的话呢，实际上欧洲的那个高校呢，对于 ERC 的获得者呢，实际上都是非常重视的。因此呢，他们会相对应的，如果你实际上得到 ERC 的那个基金的话呢，它一般会为你提供一个 tenure track 的职位或者是副教授的职位。因此呢，这是一个非常就是说是吸引人的一个地方。那由于这样的一个原因呢，所以大家需要注意的是，就是他在申请的时候呢 ，ERC 的 panel 以及他的评审人呢，他会既看重这个申请人他过往的研究履历以及他的发表情况，同时他更注重的是这个申请人他之后的潜力以及他这个项目的潜力。并且呢，就是 ERC 呢，它所支持的实际上是一个探索性的研究，从某种意义上讲。因此呢，这就是所谓的这个高风险的研究，因为探索性的研究显然它的失败性可能性很大，这就是所谓的这个高风险。但是从另一个角度来讲的话呢 ，ERC 实际上因为它提供了5年这样一个的那个资助的时间呢，因此呢，它非常有利于你可以开展一个新的研究方向。因此呢，这是非常就是说大家需要就是说是一个非常有利的一个条件。那作为中国的申请人呢？就是说，有一点大家需要注意的是，就是 ERC 无论是它的那个 panel 还是它的这个 reviewer 呢，它实际上大多数是那个欧洲的专家，因此呢，大家需要使自己的工作呢能得到这些专家的认知。因此，最好的方式能够参加国际会议及国际的那个 workshop， 这样可以使自己的工作得到更广泛的一个认同，是这样的。那最后一点呢，就是因为那个英文呢并不是我们的母语。因此呢，就是对于这样一个非常大的一个项目申请书的写作呢，大家需要对语言上有格外的留意，并且呢，对于不光是语言，包括整个这个申请书它的组织以及构架的话，需要有额外的注意。那我的建议是呢，当你写完之后呢，一定要让你的比较要好的同事呢能够浏览一下，以给你一些比较好的建议。So with that said. I wish all of you actually have good luck for your applications.
And that was Jiao Jiang talking about the experience of his experience as a Chinese researcher applying and his recommendations to Chinese researchers. His presentation was in English, by the way, but I just kind of liked it at the end, just like, hey guys, here's the thing, this is how it works, and he just like talked to them a little bit like this, and that was really, really, I think, useful. And I hope for those of you that do speak Mandarin, that you be able to take to heart what he was sharing there. In the end, these three speakers spoke a lot more than what we've shared here today. We're just giving you a little bit of a taste. This is only the tip of the iceberg. So if you are interested in the European Research Council or applying for the grant, so just hearing from the speakers and what they have to say, you can find the recording. It's 1.5 hours or 2 hours long. Just like with the Marie Curie Fellowships, we are going to be putting the recording of the webinar itself on our website, right, Anna?
Yes, for sure. And we will also add the presentations that were used by the speakers. So it's really going to be, I think, good resources for any one of you, even just thinking of applying for the ERC grants in the future. Just have a look, take your time and prepare a good application. If you feel you're ready, we wish you good luck already. So thanks a lot for watching us today. I think it's we got to the end of our 9th videocast. So I'll say bye-bye, everybody.
Yep. Thank you so much, Anna. Again, this is always very fun. I think this one was pretty good. All right. Goodbye, everybody, and I'll see you in October. And for those of you here in China, happy Golden Week, and I hope you'll have a nice vacation. All right. Bye-bye.